Hello, Ecotopians. Earlier this semester, we talked about watersheds, and I want to return to the issue of watersheds as we talk about human impact on ecotopia. Because this is why. Watersheds are there, and they will be there as long as the water cycle continues and as long as the mountain is in its current shape. That's a long time. That may outlast human civilization. And it was here for a long time before we were here also. So, the question is, what has happened to watersheds as humans move into them? And so I wanted to return to the Jolly Giant Creek watershed, and you may recognize it from this picture. There's Humboldt State University's softball field and field house in the lower center, and off to the left you can see some residential areas. I think that's California Ave and associated streets, and upper class houses up above the university. And so in this video, I will be taking you directly to this watershed. This is the upper part, and we'll look at some of that, and then we'll look at what happens to Jolly Giant Creek as it enters the city. And the idea is that this water flows down to the mountains, encounters human activity, and continues to flow. And the question is, where does it go? And what can a civilization do about this water that's flowing through it? There are multiple different approaches, and the city of Arcata has taken a mixed approach, as you'll see. Before we jump into that, I just wanted to point out that up here in the upper reaches of the Jolly Giant Creek watershed at the headwaters was once the Jolly Giant Reservoir, which was Arcata's water supply for 1937 to 1964. That's where we used to get our drinking water from. We don't get it from there anymore. As you know, we now get it from the Mad River watershed in a much more larger, highly technical way. But the reservoir is still there, although it is not being used, as you can see in this picture, which shows the empty area behind the dam. A couple of years ago, somebody, I don't know who, if they ever got caught, plugged up the exit from this reservoir, and it started filling up, which was a very dangerous thing because the reservoir is no longer maintained to hold back the water, and if it failed, it would cause a flood to pour down the canyon. But that didn't happen. Somebody noticed it and told the people, and it got fixed. But it's interesting to know that it's still there. Okay, so given that, we are now going to plunge down into, on the ground, the upper reaches of Jolly Giant Watershed at the creek. Well, folks, this is Jolly Giant Creek, and I am upstream from Humboldt State University, and the creek winds its way up into the hills and up into the headwaters, up this here road. And what I'm going to do in this video is show you that this stream, Jolly Giant Creek, which is, I'm in its watershed, and its water flows down through the creek and it enters Arcata. And there's nothing we humans can do about it. That water's going to flow through Arcata whether we like it or not. And you can actually trace a river moving through your watershed if you know what you're doing, and I'll show you how I do it. While I'm here, I just wanted to show you a couple things that are typical of redwood forests. First is sword fern, most common fern that I know of in the forest. And there's several ferns that grow. And this time of year, in wet areas all over North America and probably other places, we get skunk cabbage coming up. And it's just starting to grow here. Doesn't smell very good, thus its name. And also, right here on the side of the road, a ginormous old growth stump growing right here, and it's been burned. I don't know if you can see the charred remains of it, and off to the side of it you can see some sprouts. So this area was logged about 100 years ago, and since then it's grown back very successfully. And these are little sprouts that came off probably this trunk right here. So clonally, genetically, this is the same tree, just smaller trunk than it used to have. And as you look around these forests, the ones up around Jolly Giant Creek, you see all kinds of trees, but you also, if you know what you're looking for,
also see their stumps from their progenitor trees. So it's an outstandingly great tree for loggers because they just cut them down and they sprout back. You don't have to do anything. Redwood forest, most productive forest on the planet. Okay, so what we're going to do is in a series of film clips follow this stream down all the way through Arcata, and I'll stop at a few places on the way down just to show you typical habitats. All right, cut one. Here's a definite sign of spring. Trillium, also known as the wake robin. He's one of the first springtime flowers to come out. Really gorgeous. And this time of year, if you look around, you see lots of them. There they are. Just wanted to point out here the role that wood sometimes has in streams. You see here a very old log, I guess it's old unless it was put there by somebody, that stops the water, dams it up, forms a little waterfall. And this has a huge effect on things that live in the water. So there's a nice place where there's a pond, and that'll stay there even when it dries up and form a refuge maybe for fish. And then down below we have high energy water washing the gravel clean and maybe leaving a nice place for salmon to spawn, or something like that. So the leaving woody detritus in the streams is considered now a very important part of stream management and restoration ecology. It used to be they would haul all the wood out and burn it, and it would just really kind of mess up the hydrology of the streams. But now restoration ecologists know that woody debris is very important in streams, and when they're restoring a stream back to its natural way, they'll often pile wood up to help restore these processes. This might be a familiar area to many of you. It's right upstream of the dorms, the Jolly Giant Creek. And I just want to show you that we're going to follow this down this way, and I'll show you where the stream dives below the ground in the next clip. Okay, the creek is totally overgrown, but it comes down here and the water's got to go somewhere. It'll just pile up if it's blocked. So we build these things called culverts that take the water under the road and under the city and under the houses and take it somewhere else. So this is where Jolly Giant Creek goes underground, at least for a while. And I wondered for a long time where exactly it went, and I have figured it out, and I will show you in the remaining video. It's this funny secret place on Humboldt State where Jolly Giant Creek enters the Jolly Giant Commons, but it flows underneath everything. By the way, there's a very foul odor around here. That's too bad. I don't know what it's from, but I'm getting out of here.
So this is it. This is where Jolly Giant Creek pops up from a culvert that's buried underneath part of Humboldt State University and Highway 101 and a little bit more traffic, some city streets and so forth. And this is right near the, I guess it's the Arcata High School playing fields. There's a soccer and a football field over there. And it pops up, and then I can see there's a lot of deposited silt here, probably deposited just, from the mountains through the culvert and deposited here. Probably every so often they have to come out here and dredge this stuff up to keep it flowing. And it goes downstream. Right now, not much flow at all because we've had such a dry winter. Even though we just had about ½ an inch of rain last night, there's not much water coming through here. It's drought conditions for us. And the creek flows down and enters what Arcata calls Shea Park, S-H-A-Y, Shea Park. And I'll show you some more pictures of it in a bit. But as you can see, lots of habitat here. Habitat meaning natural habitat. These are alder trees, which are all throughout the Pacific Northwest. Really important trees. They love to keep their feet wet. Nitrogen fixers. They supply lots of habitat for birds nesting, probably food as well, and so forth. And looking in there, I don't know if you can see, but there's a swamp in there. That's another kind of habitat. Good for frogs and salamanders and aquatic insects. Now you might think that water quality, after traveling all that way through a culvert here, would suffer, that this would be bad water. And I thought that until I had my students come down here once and sample the insects in the stream. And there's a way, if you look at stream insects, if you find insect species that are sensitive to pollution, then that indicates that the water is good quality, because if it were polluted water, those insects wouldn't be there. And there's a whole way of doing that. It's pretty complicated, really fun to do. My students did it, and they found that this water here is actually pretty high quality, which is a surprise to me, but nice to know. As the water enters Arcata here, it's pretty high quality and has all this cool natural habitat supporting lots of different species. Alright, I'll show you little bits of this stream as it goes through Shea Park and move on down through Arcata. Okay, within Shea Park, Jolly Giant Creek flows through. So lots of vegetation in here. Beautiful big old alder trees and pretty bridge. Fun to come walking or biking through here. You can play poo sticks by dropping your sticks down there and then rushing to the other side and watching them come out. And look how pretty this is in here. This is just really pretty, and it's great habitat for all kinds of native animals, plants, fungi, bacteria, protists, the whole shebang. Even though it's got a big busy road right on the other side. So this is K Street or Alliance Avenue, and this is Shea Park. I think it's owned by the city of Arcata. You see the unused rail line, and they've been trying to keep it clear because it's been really overgrown in the years past. And right along here is our creek, Jolly Giant Creek. It comes through the park, comes down here. We've got a little tributary, who knows where that comes from, and a little cement works. And then this comes down that way, and it dives into a culvert under the road. Let's just take a look. There's the culvert, goes under the road, and right where that tree is where it comes up. Jolly Giant Creek, mile 1.1. That means we're 1.1 miles away from the mouth of Jolly Giant Creek. And here you can see where the water, after it crosses K or Alliance, whatever this is, pops out from this here culvert and heads on down that way, or past some old, looks like a lumber mill, maybe, and right along the road, and sandwiched right between the road and the railroad tracks and the lumber mill. The creek is above ground, and the city has allowed some natural plants to grow. The alders and, well, yeah, some blackberries and some of this invasive grass, Brazil grass. And then it goes on down that way. Now, Jolly Giant Creek and Jane's Creek come very close to each other right here. They remain separate. This is the creamery building down past that silo, and down where that line of trees is where Jane's Creek is. So this is the border between two watersheds. It's very low, but there it is. Jane's Creek flows all the way to Humboldt Bay, separate from Jolly Giant Creek. Okay, let's follow. Well, it's getting a little tricky to follow here, so I followed it to this culvert here, which goes underneath this little access road, driveway really, to that lumber mill. And it pops out over there, goes back over to the railroad tracks, and follows those railroad tracks down to, let's see, I think that's 11th Street down there, which is where we're going to go next. No native habitat there really, it's just a ditch covered with blackberries. Nice for skunks and raccoons, I guess, but not much else. This is 11th Street, looking right back towards downtown Arcata, and you can see here is our Jolly Giant Creek behind this fence, and we have a little sign here. Jolly Giant Creek, mile 1.7. Salmon, huh? Think salmon run up this creek? Steelhead? Maybe. Interesting thing happening here is that there's a construction site right here, making like a preschool, and you'll see that they put a whole bunch of this black plastic here, and that's there. It's probably a regulation to prevent construction erosion from flowing into the nearby waterways and silting them up and causing all kinds of environmental harm. So I guess that's a good thing, although some people would say that's oppressive government intervention in private affairs. You can think about that and make up your own mind. Usually these drains go to the sewage treatment plant. They connect to pipes that go to the sewage treatment plant. But look at this. No dumping drains directly to creek. Oh, does it? Well, let's see. Here's a fence. And on the other side of the fence, on private property, you can see that, in fact, there's a pipe that drains to the creek. So yeah, don't dump your oil there, because it'll go right into the creek and kill any salmonids or anything trying to live in that stream. This is cool because this is a mixture of residential and commercial district of Arcata, and this creek pops up and disappears, and sometimes it seems to go right underneath houses. So it goes through here, and I presume there's a culvert that's going to take it underneath this strait. So let's follow it. There's this car wash right on the edge of the very busy K Street, and here the creek pops up, and I'm just going to ride my bike here, so this is going to get really jumpy. So if I'm making you sick, maybe close your eyes and just listen. I'll be there in a sec. Just a little strip of land. Very dense, no one can go in there. That's blackberries and brambles and dense alders. K Street, and here we go. Jolly Giant Creek, 1.5. There it is. And yuck, what is this? All kinds of junk in there. Every now and then people get together and haul out the junk. Jumps under the culvert. Goes over there somewhere. Let's find out where. Actually, it goes under for about a block. We'll go there next. This is Arcata at J Street and 9th. That's the back of the co-op. And right across the street, what do we have? Jolly Giant Creek 1.4. This is the greatest landscaping right through here. An apartment building. And this is where it pops up after K Street, and it's just pretty. They've landscaped it really nicely here. It comes up for a few feet, and then boom, goes through a grate. I guess you're not allowed to trespass down there. The grate will keep you. And a bunch of debris is built up, which if that builds up too much could be a problem, could flood this area. But no doubt someone scoops it out. The foam looks gross. You might think that's because of pollution, soap, phosphates, which it may be, but also foam can also be caused by natural stuff too. Stuff that leaches out of plants and fall can make foam, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Oh, ouch. Oh, I can't believe I said that. I wouldn't worry about that. Let me modify and clarify my point of view on urban water pollution. I had a friend who worked in a water treatment plant who told me that that about 40 to 50% of the water in your drinking water system is lost through leaking, and that sewage treatment pipes that go through urban areas also leak. They leak. Water comes into sewage treatment pipes. It also leaves sewage treatment plants. So we know that there's actually a lot of pollution that enters the urban area from even our piped stuff. Secondly, I'm a pretty environmentally aware person, and I try to do the right thing, and yet I know that in my lifetime I have done some bad things. My car probably drips oil, and it drips antifreeze. And there have been some other things maybe I shouldn't have done, like with paint thinner and so on and so forth. And if that's me, I know there's a lot of other people who are a lot less ecologically sound in their behavior than me. And in urban areas, there's a lot of us. And so there's a lot of stuff that leaks onto the pavement. Now, look at this picture. That is an oil slick that is clearly visible from dripping oil from cars, and it just happens all the time. And that stuff goes into the gutters and often goes directly into the streams, as you shall see. So I would worry about the foam that you see in rivers. I don't know where it came from, but it is clearly a problem, and so pay attention. Now here, just when you look at water draining out into gutters, just think of what's in it or what could be in it and where it goes. Okay, onward. All right, so gosh, the creek goes under the co-op. Where does it come out next? Let's find out. All right, about 2 blocks away from the co-op, it pops up over here and comes down, beautifully landscaped area. And I just bumped into a guy. He said he works for a construction company that helped renovate this stuff about 6 years ago. About 6 years ago, this was a car dealership. This was a parking lot. And I guess they sold out to these guys, and they came in and they reconstructed this stream. And it's gorgeous. And look, in just 6 years, look at these tall alder trees. They're doing great. And I'm hearing chickadees in the background and some other native animals, and it's gorgeous. And then the stream dives underneath and goes away. And you might be wondering, how does he know where the stream goes and comes? And there's 2 answers to that. One is, I've lived in Arcata for a long time, and so I just kind of have bumped into the stream from time to time. But the other thing you can do if you're looking for a stream in your area is, first of all, just follow the low areas, because water always goes to the low areas, and so that's where they build the culverts and stuff. The other thing is look for the vegetation. See that clump of trees over there? Those are alders. Remember what I said about alders? They like to keep their feet wet. So that's probably where the stream comes up next. And that's also how I found this place. I saw the alders and I thought, there they are. Okay, our next stop is over there. 1.2 miles. Pops out. Ugh, that does look gross. Who knows what that water is receiving. And comes to this nice property. And big old alder trees. Comes around, and right on the other side, I don't know if you can see, is a PG&E station. Big electric transformer station. Let's go walk down there. Various utility pipes crossing the stream. Redwood trees in here. Alder as usual. And yikes! Jolly Giant Creek is now capped by a Pacific Gas and Electric transformer station. I wonder where it goes next. Let's see. Jolly Giant Creek, 1 mile, right on Samoa Boulevard. And this is upstream, of course, and it's barren. I mean, to me, that's a barren landscape. Ah, boy. Any fish like salmon migrating upstream to breed are going to have to navigate through what is pretty crappy habitat. Hopefully the water's good quality. They can get enough air and get their way through and get upstream to the headwaters and breed. Let's now then go across the road and follow it. Well, I thought I'd lost the creek. I had to go several blocks down South G Street, and I could see the creek above ground behind a bunch of private houses and small businesses. And then I came down right to the edge of the Arcata Marsh Park. And there's this nice little pathway that leads into the park, which is great to do. And here it is. The curious thing is, the water is flowing upstream. How can that happen? I know. It's high tide. We've reached sea level, and we're at essentially an estuary. So the water flows upstream and gets all salty at high tide, and then at low tide it all drains out again. So this is kind of like the mouth of Jolly Giant Creek. Kind of. It's the estuary. And over there in the distance there are a couple of waterfowl. I think that's a mallard. And Arcata Marsh. That's a whole nother subject. Gorgeous, fantastic natural resource in a city, our city. It's fantastic. Okay, we have made it to the one end of the watershed. Pretty close. The bay's just over there. So pat ourselves on the back. We've done a good job. Hope you guys have equally good luck mapping out your creeks. Ciao.